Good evening. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody had a nice weekend. Well, I need some more rope. I need some more rope. You need some more rope. We all need some more rope. Lots more rope. I never realized just how much I would estimate how much rope we need. And let me explain. Because, okay, first of all, no making fun of the show's title or not. No. I'm preparing for TEWOTKHAKI. TEWOTKHAKI. That is the end where our tall, kind, hairy apes kill infidels. On that day is going to be the day that you need to unpack your rope. All right? So let me repeat that. On the day that's the end where our tall, kind, hairy apes kill infidels, when you see that happen, that is the sign. And you need to open up your rope. Now listen carefully. Depending upon where you're at, whether or not you're in the city with tall skyscrapers or whether or not you're, I don't know, just in a home like we are, depends on the goal and the mission of the rope. Now listen up, this is important. Don't get your roles confused. If you live in a small one-story home, what you want to do, climb up on the roof and you want to find the flue pipe. Tie that rope real damn tight around that flue pipe, right? And then the other end of the rope you want to tie around your ankle, right? You don't need to measure out anything. Just use the whole damn rope. That's what it's there for. And what that is for that moment, on that day, the end where our tall, kind, hairy apes kill infidels. On that day, what you're going to need to do is be able to run across your roof, fly off the end of it, hang upside down with your AR-15 AK-47A MA1 rifle, and you're gonna just take them out, right? Pay attention. That's the folks that are in the one-story house. Now, the folks that are in the cities, man, you're in the cities, this is a tough one. The purpose and objective of the rope in the city is make sure you're up about, 60th floor in a building. Hurry up. Yeah, hurry up and you tie that rope real damn tight around a desk. And you take the chair and you throw it through the window. Now, this is the important part. When you jump through the window, you can't just jump. No, you'll fail. If you just jump, just like any old person that didn't care, you just jump out, you're probably not going to make it. You have to jump out. You have to put out your arms and your legs. And you have to look like those. Why do you think they do that on the movies? They do that on the movies because that's how you have to do it. If you don't do it that way, you're not going to survive. So let me recap. You take your rope, the one you brought for the mission and objective on the end, that day where it's the end, where our tall, kind, hairy apes kill infidels. On that day, tie that rope real damn tight around that desk leg. Take the desk chair, throw it through the window, and the most important part, as you exit the window, wait, don't forget this. You're going to want to tie the rope around I almost forgot that. Don't forget to tie the rope around your ankle, because then it's just all for naught. So, around the desk leg and around your ankle, chair through the window, and remember the most important part, even more important than making sure your ankle's tied, make sure you exit that window with your arms and legs out, chest out, right? With that, you're going to take on the world look, because if you don't do that, you won't make it. That's the most important part. Why am I acting so ignorant? Because that's what these channels are sounding like, with all their little tactical advice and We're gonna need to hide. Bob, it's the mailman. Yeah, man, but I saw the documents, man. I know how they're going to use the mail lady to come down on us and steal our foil hats, and it's all over then, because then those kind hairy apes won't even be interested in helping us if we don't have our hats anymore. Let me explain why I'm acting so stupid. Howdy, Hexafoos. Because let me tell you, real world versus prepper world. Now, I've touched on this a little bit lately about community and the importance of building community and the importance of not acting like an asshat. There's a lot of individuals that are in an influential space that have done no research, no study into what happens to individuals that do the very things that they're advising others to do. And let's just say, for many of them, it don't end well. So they want to throw out these prepper fantasy tales. Let me throw one out. So a majority of the channels, the quote-unquote prepping channels, will sit there and tell you or have the attitude like, oh, somebody comes to your door, you got to tell them, no, you don't know nothing, you haven't ate for 20 years, and, well, you're just going to suck off your mom's teeth. That's how you're going to survive. Well, I mean, if I was somebody that came upon your house and you told me that, I think I would just turn around and walk away. However, back to the real world. People aren't gonna buy stories, and people aren't gonna care about the stories, right? People are gonna figure out pretty quickly who's got a little something or not. Just the way it is. Now, it's going to be, in that aspect, even worse in your smaller communities, more so in the cities, because the reason why is because everybody knows everybody. So in that aspect, in cities, it's just going to be a madhouse. But here's the thing. Just as many of you that live in, densely populated areas, just as many of you live in less densely populated areas. And in a less densely populated area, it's probably not a good idea to lead with a hammer. Let me explain why. Jim Bob has a family. Jim Bob's family has no food or no water or what have you. So Jim Bob takes it upon himself to try to find help somewhere. So Jim Bob sets out to go find sustenance for his family. Jim Bob gets shot in the head by Joe Bob just simply because he was walking up his driveway to ask him if there's any way you could help. It's only a matter of time before people that, cared about Jim Bob come knocking on your door. Now you can go back and all the events that's happened in different places around the world, and you will see that is what commonly happens to people that have that attitude. Now, I'm not in any way saying that you should make yourself a convenience store. No, not even remotely. There's better ways to deal with it. And that's all I'm hearing these prepper channels want to talk about is dealing with stuff with their AR-15. And if you're going to have more situations where you're dealing with your AR-15 more than your brain, then you need to be somewhere else. You're not in the right place. Plain and simple. That's an unsurvivable situation. I'm not saying that it's going to be Mayberry here. Absolutely not. But is it going to be the same thing that's going to be going on in St. Louis? Oh, hell no. It ain't even going to be the same thing as what's going on in, I don't know, there's another town in between us and St. Louis, Collinsville City. I'd call it a town city. Not huge. I don't know the population off the top of my head, but, that's going to be a bit of a madhouse. Not only is it the population density, but we'll say the quality of the population density as well. It's going to be an ugly, ugly place. Here, everywhere you're going to have craziness. You're going to have nonsense. Everywhere. There's not going to be a corner that you're not going to have it. But the amount of it, the per capita, if you will, of it, going to be much different. Again, I'm not saying that Jim Bob comes walking down the street that you open up your front door and say, hey, look, I don't mind cutting my family's ability to survive in half to be able to just give you this. No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is maybe it should be dealt with a little bit more differently. Maybe, and you don't get this by just taking somebody out. You don't find this out. You can't learn this by just taking somebody out. Maybe Jim Bob had some skills that you could have used. Maybe Jim Bob was the only veterinarian in the area and you just took him out. People really need to think beyond this prepper fantasy stuff, because you know what? That fantasy is going to melt away real damn fast when those moments start coming. And people that right now think that they have such a taste, a craving for violence, you got to understand, that's people's bravado. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Anybody that enjoys that type of stuff, truly enjoys that type of stuff, is very sick. I think a lot of it boils down to our media, our entertainment industry. But people in the United States are heavily addicted to violence. Heavily. And it's not good. Trash in, trash out. I'm not saying that, we need to nerf everything on TV. No, but I do think we need to nerf the hell out of everything that's on public television, and I think that we need to slap some parents upside the damn heads until they got some common sense to realize that their 7-year-olds shouldn't be watching NCIS. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. I just wanted to talk about that because I see it again. I see all this tactical bullshit. And I'm not saying don't be prepared. I'm not saying don't be able to defend yourself. I'm not saying don't practice, don't drill. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying don't make that what your expectation of the majority of your encounters of other people. Don't make that as being the number one expectation. Oh man, but anybody could be. Stop. If you go into it with a fearful mindset, good people are going to get hurt, possibly including yourself. That's part of what's happening, what's going wrong in all of these shootings involving law enforcement. A lot of these individuals are individuals that should never be in that position. Plain and simple. And it's a fact. It's a fact. Man, a lot of people that think it's just fun and games, and it's not. And like I say, my stake in it is anybody that hears me, I at least want them to know the truth. I at least want them to stand a chance. But what you have to understand is you've got marketing teams literally spending billions of dollars a year on trying to get your mind stuck in a fantasy so you keep buying their products because you gotta have it or you're not gonna survive. Maybe we need to focus on how it is that we could be kind to one another. Maybe we need to focus on what it is, how it is we could help other people. If not taking food out of our own mouths to put into theirs, how could we help them? Is there anything that we could do at all to help these individuals if we can't help them with food? I believe there is. I believe there's a whole hell of a lot of stuff you can help them with, even if you cannot provide them food. And I would guess, and history would prove, if people would actually look it up, that those individuals that reach out and say, hey, look, I don't have it to be able to feed extra mouths. I don't have it. This is what I can do. This is what I do. I know such and such. I know that they need a little bit of work in the fields. Maybe you can go such and such. Tell them I sent you that way. See if they've got some work you can do for a little bit of food for your family. Maybe, I don't know, that might be a smarter approach than just shooting somebody in the head for walking down your driveway. There's going to be a lot of scared people if things would happen to go, sideways in a quick manner. There's going to be a lot of petrified people, and the most dangerous person on earth is somebody that is scared. Most dangerous. You'd rather have to deal with a psycho before you'd want to deal with somebody who's scared, and that's a fact. We don't want people scared. We want people prepared. And if people are thinking that every encounter that they run into after the balloon goes up is going to be some violent madness shooting spree breaking out where we're going to need 15 magazines and we're going to have 2 plates of vests or 2 plates of armor in our vest and we're going to... It gets stupid. It really gets stupid. Understand, folks, that a lot of these individuals that get out there bold and proud with that kind of mindset, it's not going to work for them very well, not for very long. You won't get to see that on YouTube, though. That's the thing. That's the thing. You don't get to see what the results are before you get put in the situation. That's why I'm urging, that's why I'm begging people to think and actually look into it. Are there violent encounters? Absolutely there is. Should you be prepared for violent encounters? Absolutely you should. Should you be looking for violent encounters? No. No. just be well prepared, be better prepared, be well trained, and especially well disciplined. And make sure you've got backup and you know what you're doing. But making anybody a target just because they walk down a road or happen to be walking up your lane, probably not a good reason to execute someone. It may sound good at the time, but you, like I said earlier, you damn well better hope that they don't have a group of people that love them that's going to be coming and looking. Just real stuff, and I know it's not fun. It's not funny. And it's certainly not sexy. It's not something that I can go get you to go out and buy your new AR-15 MA1AK. I thought survival was the objective, not domination. What a thought. What a thought. All right, I've got I guess five articles open here. One of them was an article that was just put out, or at least just updated, not real long ago. The situation that happened near Los Angeles, if I can say it, Los Angeles, California. Interesting revelations coming from there. So I got that to start out with. Other craziness. Yes. Oh, you thought smuggling cocaine was bad? No, that wasn't bad. Heroin? You thought smuggling heroin was bad? No, wrong again. Fentanyl. Certainly, you mean fentanyl, right? Fentanyl. No. The most heinous crime today. Smuggling eggs across the Mexican border. My goodness. Gosh, what are we going to do with these criminals? Gosh. Horrible. All right, we're actually going to start out with this, but I had to have fun with the egg one. Sheriff says, suspect in dance club shooting killed himself in a van. Now, this story, very interesting. It's really turning out in no way, shape, or form like I would have ever imagined. Story goes as this. The hunt for a gunman who killed 10 people at a Los Angeles area ballroom dance club ended Sunday when authorities found him dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound in the van he used to flee after people thwarted his attempt at a second shooting. So, let me explain. As the news was putting it at the time, there was an Asian man. At the time, they said looked to be between 20s and 30s. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing that headline. Between 20s and 30s. Okay. Asian. Certainly Asian. A man. Now, this happened, by the way, in a predominantly Asian area. So, let me continue on. And, by the way, yes. Apparently, he tried to go to another place and do the same thing, in which he was confronted. I'm assuming lost control of the weapon and ran away, I guess. So let me continue on. It says, Los Angeles County Sheriff Robert Luna identified the man as, get this, 72-year-old Hu Can Tran, and said no other suspects were at large. He added that the motive remained unclear for the attack, which wounded 10 more. The weapon, this is mind-blowing to me. Listen to this one, guys. The weapon suspected to have been used was identified as a magazine-fed, semi-automatic assault pistol, which was also found in the van, by the way. Man, I knew it. I knew it was going to be an assault pistol. I knew it. Assault pistol. The van, too. That was an assault van that he drove there. The dual exhaust. Yeah. He even stripped, California, for God's sake, and he stripped off the emissions equipment. This dude was just a madman. Oh, wait, no, that ain't none of the story. Anyway, I still have questions in my mind, which is, what was the motive for this shooter? Did he have a mental illness? You're asking yourself that question. Was he a domestic violence abuser? How did he get these guns, and was it through legal means or not? Congresswoman Judy Chu said. Of course, now it's got to be all the anti-gun grandstanding. That's why it was a semi-automatic assault pistol. Earlier Sunday, law enforcement officials swarmed and entered the van after surrounding it for 4 hours. I don't know if it was 4 hours or if they just repeated 4. Anyway, before going in, a person's body appeared to be slumped over the wheel and was later removed from the vehicle. Los Angeles County Sheriff Robert Luna previously released photos of an Asian man who was believed to be the suspect. The manhunt came after the gunman killed 10 people at a ballroom dance studio late Saturday amid Lunar New Year celebrations in the predominantly Asian American community of Monterey Park. He likely tried and failed to target a second dance hall, authorities said. The van was found in Torrance, another community home to many Asian Americans, about 22 miles from that second location. The shooting sent a wave of fear through Asian American communities in the Los Angeles area and cast a shadow over Lunar New Year festivities around the country. Other cities sent extra officers to watch over the celebrations. Now, hang on before we go any further. I don't think this was a case involving domestic issues between this man and another particular individual, like family or what have you. I don't see that. And the reason why is because why the second place? If there were specific individuals like an ex-wife or what have you, if there was something like that, like a specific individual that was a target, he probably wouldn't have went to the second place. Just saying, I can't promise that's the truth in this case, but more than likely. So, I don't know. It's crazy. It goes on to say, let's see. Luna said the shooting at the Star Ballroom Dance Studio in Monterey Park left 5 women and 5 men dead and wounded another 10 people. Then 20 to 30 minutes later, a man with a gun entered the Lele Ballroom in nearby Alhambra. I mean, it could be something to do with dancing or something, but I mean... Anyway, it says the suspect entered the Alhambra club with a gun, and people wrestled the weapon away from him before he fled, Luna said. Hours earlier, Luna said authorities were looking for a white van after witnesses reported seeing the suspect flee from Alhambra in such a vehicle. Members of a SWAT team entered the van a short time later and looked through the contents before walking away. It was unclear what they found. The massacre was then it goes on to other shootings to try to fearmonger you into gun control, and I'm not doing that, homie. So, anyway, no idea. No idea. 72 years old. He himself was an Asian American. both places were dance halls or ballrooms. I'm assuming somehow he was involved in dancing, but I wouldn't know how, and I wouldn't know what would motivate him to hit more than one place, unless it was the possibility that the person he was looking for wasn't at the first place. So, I don't know. And I'm sure there's so many details that haven't been released. There could have been people actually at the second place that recognized him. Let's say his actual target was at the second place and recognized who it was. They wrestled the gun away from him. And I'm just hypothetical here. Wrestled the gun away from him. He goes out into the van, and because he's feeling like even more of a failure, ends his own life. Just hypothetical, but we'll see what comes out. Back to the egg story. The U.S. is cracking down on egg smuggling, because fentanyl's fine, heroin fine, cocaine fine. Stop it with those eggs. U.S. Customs and Border Patrol officials have warned Americans against trying to smuggle raw eggs or poultry over the border from Mexico, citing disease risk. No, officer, my parakeets have giantitis. They only look like chickens. Anyway, they warned Americans against trying to smuggle raw eggs or poultry over the border from Mexico, citing disease risk as skyrocketing supermarket prices drive normally law-abiding citizens to take extreme measures. Raw egg seizures along the Mexican border jumped 108% for the last quarter of 2022. So this is normally a problem? Compared to the same period in 2021, CBP Supervisory Agriculture Specialist Charles Payne told El Paso NBC affiliate KTSM on Wednesday. Now, let me clarify. If you are an illegal immigrant and you happen to be carrying, 5 dozen eggs in your hands as you cross the border, you're fine. You're fine. It would be totally racist to say that anything could be wrong with those eggs. No, I didn't take any hard drugs before I started the show, but thanks for your concern. CBP Supervisory Agriculture. Actually, I read that part. Do I want to read the rest of this crap? No, I'm not going to read the rest of this crap. Hey, you do what you got to do, right? $20 is $20, right? I can't even click the X. Well, gonna have a sip of coffee. Wonder what kept me out of the really good schools. No idea. Anyway, gamers leak U.S. fighter jet secrets. Online gaming perfectionists debating the precise modeling of their preferred weaponry have inadvertently exposed military secrets on the internet yet again, this time posting sensitive information about the U.S.-built F-16 and F-15 fighter jets on 2 separate occasions in just 1 week. The game in question is War Thunder, players of which had previously spilled some potentially classified beans on the British Challenger 2 battle tank France's Leclerc tank and Chinese DTC-10 125 anti-armor shells, among others. The latest disclosures concerned the F-16 Fighting Falcon, built by U.S. defense contractor General Dynamics, and the McDonnell Douglas F-15E Strike Eagle. Like other leaks, this one came on a discussion forum for War Thunder, where players of the realistic online game often nitpick over the accuracy of their pretend military hardware. PC Gamer reported. In an F-16 discussion that had been dragging on since mid-2022, one of the players, woke up and he was still in his mom's basement, and he wrote on January 16 about an interesting thing I found during my research. While the comment in itself wasn't oversensitive, the player, known as Space Navy 90, attached a document to prove his assertions about the AIM-120 radar-guided missiles and the jet's cockpit control panel. What's the problem? The document had restricted distribution authorization according to the forum moderator. Just what buttons to push, that's no big deal. Just 2 days after that, another forum member, Ranch Sauce 39, reportedly posted a collection of operational flight program software manuals for the F-15E, including details on its flight controls, targeting, and weapons systems. And Ranch Sauce 39, you can find him with Mule Team 6, and, As in similar cases involving other weapon systems, the sensitive information was removed after being flagged by the moderator and the game developer. Distributing restricted military data in unauthorized places, such as an online game forum, can result in civil or criminal sanctions. War Thunder, which was developed by Gaian Entertainment, a Budapest-based company with distinct Russian origins, allows players to battle each other using historical and modern military hardware. Many of the players attracted to the game are obsessed with accuracy and press the game's designers to get every detail exactly right, in some cases supporting their arguments with restricted materials, such as the classified Challenger 2 manual that was shared in July 2021. We always delete posts containing classified or restricted information from our forum as soon as possible, Gaian said in a statement to PC Gamer. We forbid our users to share documents like this on our platforms. We remind our users again and again that it's both illegal and pointless, so they should never do that. We never use documents like this in our work. Meanwhile, the gamer promised to be more careful about what technical information he posts, to cut down a little bit on the hot pockets, and he said to PC Gamer, hopefully we can put this issue behind us. I'm sure you're ready to do that at this point. Probably done with talking with people for a while. How do you get a knock on your door? That's how you get a knock on your door. I gotta have a babe. Doing the old pink starburst. Yummy, yummy. Still got Jimmy the Juice Man Sherb in this one. Sherb. I wished I could make this. Tastes just like sherbet ice cream. It's awesome. Howdy, Walter Davis. Gosh, this is so good. Telling you. Just like you just took the spoon and drug it across all three of the sherbet flavors, right? And then stuck it in your mouth. Let's see. Okay, back to Earth. Moscow warns West of global tragedy. It says here, a global tragedy could be in store for humanity if the West keeps supplying weapons to Ukraine, Russia's most senior lawmaker has warned. Oh my goodness, I can't say his first name, so Volodin, the Speaker of the State Duma, also suggested that Moscow could retaliate with more powerful arms should its territory be threatened. Volodin's remarks came days after a meeting at U.S. Ramstein Air Base in Germany, at which Western powers pledged to continue supporting Kiev. On Sunday, Volodin took to Telegram to point out should the weapons provided by U.S. and fellow NATO member states be used to strike civilian cities and to attempt to seize our territories as they threaten to do, Moscow would respond with more powerful weapons. Why do you think that they're getting all these weapons out there and in place? Because they plan to use them if they need to. I don't doubt this intent at all. It says Russian lawmaker went on to argue that Western officials should be aware of their responsibility to avert such a scenario. Taking into consideration the technological superiority of Russian weapons, foreign politicians making such decisions need to understand this could end up being a global tragedy that would destroy their countries, Volodin warned. Now, again, and I'm going to say this again, I don't think it's because I'm smoking opium, and I don't think it's because, it's just something too horrible for me to want to imagine. But I don't think that there's going to be... Do I think that at some point there's going to be a nuclear exchange? Absolutely. Absolutely. I do see that in the cards. Do I think it's going to be a widespread global catastrophe? Well, I mean, one, in my opinion, is. But as far as wiping the countries off the face of the earth, no. No. I don't think they're going to deploy enough to blow the planet apart, even though they can do that many, many, many times over. I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think we're going to see the whole mad thing play out. I don't think that they're that messed up. I really don't. They're messed up, but I don't think they're that messed up. Just be ready, you know? I would say that we are more at risk for a nuclear conflict than we have been, obviously, since the Cold War. That's not even saying nothing. So, I would say that we're probably more at risk than in the Cold War, actually. But again, I think the likelihood of a mad situation would have been more likely during the Cold War than now. So they've got other things now. So it's no longer the case where the nuclear weapon is the biggest, baddest toy in the toy chest. That's no longer the case. So let's see. And now when I say that, mind you, the differences being a nuclear missile, bomb, what have you, has a lasting effect. It's not just the explosion. Of course, it's all the radiation. It's the lasting radiation. However, there's ways that you can take out a large population without having any residual effects left behind. You think anything from rods of God to you name it, space-based lasers, you name it. Tons of weapons that, like I've said before, make this whole idea of launching missiles at one another like bows and arrows. They just don't talk about these weapons because, well, it's not public knowledge. Let's see. Anyway, back to this. There's part of the story that just blows my mind, and this probably will tell you just how sheltered I've been. Because I have. I'm not going to lie. I've lived a sheltered life. I've lived a very sheltered life. I mean, in some aspects. This ain't something that I've ever had to worry about or something. I don't think this is an issue here at all. I don't think it is at all. You might have one stray instance. Anyway, this is the story. Officers and juveniles involved in shooting in City Foundry parking lot. This is insane. I'm just going to read the story. It's short. According to police, several officers were shot at when investigating car break-ins Saturday night at the City Foundry. Officers were on the scene of the break-ins in the south lot of the City Foundry when they heard multiple gunshots coming from the same lot and saw a white Honda Accord driving away. According to police, the passenger of the Honda leaned over the roof and began firing several rounds from a rifle pointed toward the officers and the 3 juveniles that were at the scene. No one was injured in the shooting. The Honda was last seen driving south on Van Deventer. The 3 juveniles that were on the scene tried to run but were taken into custody by the officers. Now, this is the part that I'm talking about. This is insane, the next 2 paragraphs. Of those taken into custody, a 15-year-old male and 16-year-old male had guns in their possession. The 15-year-old was found in possession of a Glock 29 equipped with an autoseer, making the gun fully automatic, and the 16-year-old was in possession of a stolen Glock 19. Now, I'm sure many of you know that Mr. 15-year-old's probably going to go away for a very, very, very long time. That was not wise. None of that was wise. None of it was wise. That's just insanity. Just insanity. Man, a 15-year-old with a Glock that had an auto sear. That just blows my mind. Blows my mind. Anyway. I mean, it's not really about a sheltered life, but that's not something that I've been exposed to. I've never lived in a big city. This is the closest I've ever really been to a big city, and it's 30 miles away. So, I've never spent any real time in a city, and don't intend to. Not a fan. Not a fan. In fact, our community here, Highland, is getting a little too big for my liking. Just starting to. It's not like it's a big bustling city, but it's starting to creep up there in size. And corruption and everything else that goes along with it all. But luckily, crime's not out of hand here or anything like that. So it's still a pretty nice, quiet, sleepy town. So, anyway, I've got headlines going all the way back from Friday because there was quite a bit that went on. Oh, I do see a number 1 up there. Let me go get that out of the way. Oh. That's going to be a repeat of the story I already covered about the mass shooting in California. So I did tweet that out, but I've already covered it. Copy time. One moment. Oh, man. Boy, I bet that was nice. 12-hour trail rides. Bet that was awesome. That's something I've not been around much either. Haven't had the opportunity to be around like horses very much. Or, we live in, it's a small town, but it's a small city, I'll say. Just under 10,000 people, but farming area all around us and stuff like that. We got plenty of horses in the area. I just never really hung out a whole lot with people that had them. So one friend as I was growing up had horses. That was it. Let's see. Take that back. 2.
Two friends had horses. Oh, I hear you. I hear you. Everything to me seems like another lifetime ago. Oh, man. All right, gonna start out with news I started sharing on Friday, because that's what we do on Sunday. We play catch-up. So Friday's news. CIA head briefs Zelensky on Russia's next step, says media. Top economists warn of global recession. Russia blasts U.S. asset expropriation scheme. Global household wealth optimism crashes, says a survey. Zelensky scolds Berlin for stance on tank deliveries. Argentina urges dialogue with Britain on disputed islands. Meta reverses position on Ukrainian neo-Nazi regiment, says Kiev. A top EU official admits dialogue with Ukraine becoming more difficult. UK finds loophole to buy Russian oil, says media. Trump fined $1 million over Clinton lawsuit. I don't know why that story went out twice. A NATO member weakens itself by helping Ukraine, says analyst. Scottish children to be surveyed on gender, says media. That sounds crazy. Crypto brokerage Genesis files for bankruptcy. Sanctions not stopping Pakistan from buying Russian oil, says minister to RT. U.S. covertly sponsoring ISIS, says Moscow. Pentagon wants Kiev's backers to dig deeper. Russian LNG shipments to China skyrocket. Moscow outlines what West can do to resolve Ukraine crisis. Let's see. No German-made tanks for Ukraine yet, says Berlin. EU country open-minded on F-16 jets for Ukraine, says media. So see how we've already edged into the main battle tank. We already know that's going to happen just as soon as they get the paperwork filled out. And we're already, maybe talking about, I don't know, maybe an F-16 or two. I don't know. See how they're doing this? There is no way Russia's going to just keep sitting back and keep sitting back. No, and I don't think that Russia's going to unleash an attack on any other country. I don't think it's going to start like that. I think what's going to happen whenever Putin's had enough, I think Putin's going to bring the hammer down in Ukraine. And I think he's going to bring the damn hammer down. I think he's going to make our shock and awe endeavor in the Middle East, I think he's going to make that look like nothing to make a point. We'll see if it goes like that. I have a feeling it's going to go like that. Switzerland threatens to seize Russian assets. Let's see. U.S. ally walks back nuclear remarks. Western tanks won't be the game changer in Ukraine, says the Kremlin. I would agree. Investigation pulls back veil on Soros indoctrination efforts. Yeah, they're not going to be able to supply enough tanks or people to operate the tanks to be an effective, Russia's going to knock them right out. Russian military confirms capture of key Donbass settlement. Google's parent announces massive job cuts. Iran threatens to designate any EU member army as terrorist group. We're still on Friday's news, by the way. U.S. pulling military gear from Korea for Ukraine. Huge gold deposit discovered in Serbia, says an official. Top Texas universities join TikTok ban. Pfizer tried to bully India, says minister. Foreign minister dies after heart attack at cabinet meeting. EU exploring options to confiscate frozen Russian funds, says media. British PM probed for alleged seatbelt violation. Ukraine conflict is global, says IMF boss. Yeah, because it's being made global. Russia fights to the end, says Burrell. German intelligence concerned over Ukrainian losses, says media. U.S. to label Russia's Wagner Group a criminal organization. I'm sure they're real concerned. Sex cult leader gets 60 years in prison. That's 60 more years than Epstein got, isn't it? EU treats Croatia like retarded child, says president. They said it, not me. U.S. Navy SEAL killed in Ukraine. Now, let me make sure I point out that he was not an active duty U.S. Navy SEAL. He was a former U.S. Navy SEAL who was no longer, in fact, I think he went AWOL, if I'm not mistaken. He went AWOL and then thought it was a good idea to join up with the Ukrainian ordeal. Well, and you see how that worked out. Red Cross chief visits Russian Defense Ministry. Still Friday's news. U.S. terror no-fly list is leaked. Netherlands reveals Patriot contribution to Ukraine. I mean, why not just leak everything? I mean, most of it's in Biden's garage anyway. New Zealand picks replacement PM. I don't know if I said Netherlands reveals. Yeah, I did. Patriot contribution to Ukraine. If not, I said it twice. Oh well. Kamikaze drones strike U.S. base. And now, coffee time, because we're to yesterday's news. You just got all snapped. Oh, snap. I don't know what's going on with that crazy possessed thing. That's what I think it is. So, if you got some sage or something like that, do some smudging in our direction. Her computer's possessed. No, she's got an Android emulator on it that plays hell on that computer, but it's not hurting nothing. I mean, the worst thing it'd do is corrupt the operating system so bad it won't boot. I'll throw the USB drive in and reinstall it. Of course, the dog's all pissed off about that plan, apparently. It's not acceptable, apparently. I don't know. She went over there. She was raising hell, scruffing like crazy. I don't know what's up, but she's pissed. Okay. Yeah, good. That is a good question, Walter. He asked, why do we have a no-fly list when the southern border's wide open? No idea. No idea. And hey, speaking of that, how come people that actually live here, U.S. citizens, right, are almost raped just to get through security at the at the airport, just to fly domestically within their own country, right? And you're gonna have to have a special ID and all that. Well, wait, you're at the southern border? Oh, just come on across. Come on across. It's absolutely insane. U.S. urges Ukraine not to fixate on defending key cities, says media. And again, we're to yesterday's news. Russia remains China's second biggest oil supplier. Russia and Pakistan agreed a major energy deal. Sweden greenlights Koran building... Let me try that again. Sweden greenlights Koran burning stunt outside Turkish embassy. Musk warns against relentless escalation in Ukraine. Western states agree to 2 price caps on Russian oil products, says the U.S. Musk explains controversial tweet to jury. Italian football giants hit with major points deduction in finance scandal. A NATO nation finds Russian sailors over uniforms, says media. I don't like that color blue. Twitter has lost 80% of staff since Musk's takeover, says CNBC. Turkey cancels visit of NATO hopeful's defense minister. Russia has date for UEFA talks on potential return, says media. I think I accidentally shared a sports thing. Poll indicates big change in American attitude to Ukraine aid. UK losing status of haven for super rich, says study. You don't say. Japan hit by wave of corporate bankruptcies, says data. Moscow explains Ukraine grain shipment delays. Again, we're on yesterday's news. China stocks up on Russian gold. Ukrainian troops will train on German tanks, says Kiev. EU nation denies plan to send German-made tanks to Kiev. I don't think any of you know what you're going to do yet. The masters haven't told you. Moldova considers joining larger alliance. Fighting Russia, very, very difficult for Ukraine, says a top U.S. general. World moving closer to irreversible disaster, says Chomsky. Elon Musk fortifies dad's house over kidnap fears. RT France to close after accounts frozen. Iconic venue urged to drop facial recognition enemies list. Yeah, that's a crazy article. It has to do with a place right there in New York City. Whistleblowers expose scale of UK migrant child trafficking, says Guardian. FBI finds more classified documents at Biden's residence. Say it ain't so, Joe. Turkey questions Sweden's NATO commitments. And now we are to today's news, in which I get another drink of coffee. Or 3. Fun times. All right. Cop City protest turns chaotic. It's talking about situation down in or near Atlanta, in which there was a protest. There were individuals occupying an area that is slated to be turned into a more or less like a police academy, a place to train law enforcement. And apparently, as police were clearing the land, as the story has it, one of the protesters, one of the campers, whatever you want to call them, it's been reported that he's Antifa related. I have not personally gone and looked into that. I'm not going to jump on that train and say, oh, he was Antifa because he was there. He may be, I don't know. I haven't looked into it. Why? Because I really don't care. It doesn't really matter either way. People just say that to be able to say more talking points. Nonetheless, he shot at cops. Cops shot at him. He didn't fare well in the situation. And so as you already, I'm sure, are aware, there were people acting a fool last night throughout many cities throughout the U.S. Because idiots begat idiots, I guess. I don't know. But, you know, there are instances in which we need to raise hell, right? I talked about one just the other day. I put out a video, the situation in North Carolina. I even watched the video a couple other times to make sure that I didn't miss anything. That I didn't miss him moving his arms in an aggressive manner, or saying something that I didn't catch. Nothing. Dude just steps out, on his porch with his hands in the air, holding their robot, and pop, 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 pop. Crazy. Crazy. That stuff is the stuff we need to call out. That stuff is the stuff we need to fix. This stuff, when some dumbass just opens fires on cops, that's different. That's very, very different. You know, it all goes back to what I've been trying to say the entire time. We need self-accountability. We need the cops to be accountable for when they fuck up. And, well, we need our society to stop being a bunch of whatever the hell they are. And live real lives once again. Not Instagram lives or TikTok lives or Facebook real lives. Insane. Let's see. EU car sales collapse, says industry body. They've collapsed all around. Even the used car market, all of it's collapsing. Let's see. U.S. oil field giant takes over Russia business after peers exit, says Reuters. That's not surprising. Ex-Zelensky aide cast doubt on Ukraine's military fortunes. UK house prices forecast to slump. Again, that's not just, in the UK. That's happening all over. Florida defends blocking a woke high school course. Let's see. Covered that. Russian neighbor reveals volume of frozen assets. Former colony orders French troops to leave, says media. I think that was the headline I read. Japan's trade deficit hits record high, says data. Turkish activist sets Swedish flag on fire. Russians leading in new foreign corporate openings in Turkey. EU energy crisis no longer affected by Russia-Ukraine tensions, says Burrell. Major South American nations move to cut reliance on U.S. dollar, says media. Poland to set up coalition to overcome German stance on tanks, says PM. Kiev star mercenary threatens to burn Ukrainian army to the ground, says media. FBI's most wanted woman sends signal from hiding. Netanyahu fires cabinet minister after pressure. Second man on the moon, Buzz Aldrin, ties the knot at 93. Go Buzz. Go Buzz. And she's like 63, I think. Go Buzz. Senior U.S. border official quit over sex abuse claims, says media. Iconic tourist site closed due to violent unrest. They're talking about Machu Picchu, if I'm saying it correctly. Let's see. European nation fails to remain neutral in global proxy war, says an ex-leader. Nancy Pelosi held exorcism after her husband's attack, says her daughter. So just be advised that things are going to be much better now in the Pelosi household because, well, Nancy held an exorcism. So, and the reason why you know that's fake is because her ass didn't melt into the ground, right? So, ex-Russian president predicts new anti-U.S. military alliance, and I would say he's probably is correct in what he was saying in that article. India blocks BBC propaganda piece. AOC heckled over Ukraine weapons. NATO nation denies involvement in Crimean bridge attack. Nobel-winning economist wants wealth tax. Democrats tried Biden over classified documents. Epstein confidant suggests Prince Andrew photo is fake, says media. I'm pretty sure we know better. Let's see. It moved on me. Let's see. Germany issues update on tanks for Ukraine. U.S. lawmaker proposes just one Abrams tank for Ukraine. How about none? Let's see. Suspect in mass shooting. Oh, that was the same thing, and that's what that article is. Okay. That is it. Crazy times. Like I say, be prepared to defend yourself, but just don't be in the mindset that that's going to be the every time encounter, because otherwise it only takes one bad decision. And it doesn't matter how much you prepped, it doesn't matter how much ammo you have, how much food you have. There are only so many people that you can go up against. And when you're defending, that's the bad thing about this situation, because when you're defending your property, when you're defending your land, they know where you live. So defend it wisely. Don't just take out people because they walk up your lane. And that's kind of the attitude that I get from some of the channels on YouTube. Not a good plan. Not a good plan. Anyway, I am going to get out of here. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow with more nonsense. Probably not quite as nonsensical as today, but I'll do my best. Anyway, hope everybody has a good night. Hope to see you tomorrow. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.